The snowstorm arrived without drama, without thunder or warning sirens, the way disasters often do when they mean to linger. It began as a gentle drift of white feathers against the airport's glass walls, the kind travelers admire while sipping overpriced coffee. By nightfall, it had transformed into a merciless barricade, sealing the airport from the rest of the world and trapping hundreds of passengers inside a frozen limbo. Daniel Carter noticed the change not by looking outside, but by the sound. Airports had a rhythm: rolling suitcases, clipped announcements, impatient footsteps. That rhythm broke when flights stopped. Silence crept in, heavy and wrong, broken only by crying children and the low murmur of stranded strangers negotiating phone chargers and floor space. Daniel adjusted the strap of his worn backpack and tightened his grip on his daughter's mittened hand. "Daddy," Lily whispered, her blue eyes wide as she stared at the growing crowd near the departure boards. "Are we stuck?" Daniel knelt so they were eye level, brushing a strand of blonde hair from her face. "For a little while," he said calmly. "But we're safe. That's what matters." It was a practiced tone, steady, reassuring, the voice of a man who had learned long ago that fear spread faster in children than any storm. Lily nodded, trusting him the way only a 6-year-old could. Her trust was the most terrifying responsibility Daniel had ever known. They found a quiet corner near gate C-17, away from the shouting and frustration. Daniel laid his coat on the floor so Lily could sit, then offered her the last granola bar from his bag. He pretended not to be hungry. Across the terminal, a different kind of tension was unfolding. Elena Whitmore stood near the customer service desk, her tailored coat dusted with snow, her phone pressed tightly to her ear. Even without knowing her name, people recognized power when they saw it. She carried it in her posture, her controlled frustration, the way airline staff straightened when she spoke. She was the CEO of Whitmore Dynamics, a tech conglomerate that had quietly reshaped global data security. Elena was used to controlling outcomes. Snowstorms were not part of her strategy. Beside her stood her son, Noah, 8 years old, clutching a tablet with a cracked screen. Unlike Lily, Noah's trust had limits. He watched the crowd with suspicion, absorbing the chaos like a sponge. "Elena," the voice on the phone said, "the board meeting can be postponed." "Your safety. That's not the issue," she snapped quietly. "I need to be in Zurich by morning." There was a pause. Reality did not bend to money tonight. When the call ended, Elena exhaled sharply and finally looked at her son. "We'll manage," she said, though it sounded like a command more than reassurance. Noah shrugged. "You always say that." Daniel noticed them without meaning to. Single parents developed an instinct for spotting others like them, not by marital status, but by posture. The subtle lean toward the child, the constant scanning of surroundings, the way exhaustion lived behind their eyes. Elena caught Daniel looking and stiffened. He immediately looked away, not wanting to be mistaken for something else. Years ago, before Lily, before loss reshaped his life, he might have smiled. Now, caution came first. The announcement came at 9:47 p.m. All remaining flights have been cancelled due to severe weather conditions. Passengers are advised to remain inside the terminal. Airport hotels are fully booked. A collective groan rose from the crowd. Children cried. Adults cursed. Phones lit up like fireflies. Lily squeezed Daniel's hand harder. "Daddy." "I know," he said softly. "It's okay." But even as he said it, Daniel's mind was working. He had learned to read signs, small inconsistencies, behavioral tells, not from books, but from experience. From nights when Lily was sick and couldn't explain what hurt. From years working security consulting before his wife's death forced him to choose stability over ambition. His eyes moved automatically, cataloging faces, exits, shadows. That's when he saw the man. At first, there was nothing remarkable about him. Mid-30s, dark jacket, average build. But Daniel's gaze lingered, caught by something subtle. The man wasn't frustrated. He wasn't checking his phone, wasn't arguing with staff, wasn't comforting anyone. He stood near a maintenance corridor, eyes moving, not randomly, but deliberately. Counting, mapping. Daniel felt a familiar tightening in his chest. Lily leaned against him, already half asleep. "Daddy," she murmured, "can we go home tomorrow?" "Yes," he said automatically. His eyes never left the man. Across the terminal, Elena was having her own moment of realization. Noah tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, that guy keeps looking at me." She frowned. Which guy? The one by the gray door. Elena followed his gaze, and froze. She had spent her career analyzing threats, navigating hostile negotiations, dealing with competitors who smiled while plotting her downfall. Her instincts, sharpened in boardrooms and crisis rooms, flared now. The man's eyes lingered on children. Not with warmth, with calculation. Elena's gaze met Daniel's across the terminal for a fraction of a second. In that instant, something passed between them, recognition. Not attraction. Not trust. Awareness. Daniel subtly shifted Lily so she was shielded by his body. Elena pulled Noah closer, her hand firm on his shoulder. The snowstorm howled outside, sealing them in. Inside the airport, the real danger was just beginning to take shape. And Daniel Carter, single father, reluctant protector, knew with grim certainty that tonight would test every instinct he had left. "Don't go," the female billionaire begged, her voice barely louder than a whisper, yet heavy enough to stop him at the door. "It's my birthday." Ethan Carter froze, his hand still on the brass handle of the penthouse door. He hadn't expected that. He hadn't expected her voice to sound so small either. For a woman who owned half the skyline they were standing above, Lena Blackwood suddenly sounded like someone who owned nothing at all. He turned slowly. Lena stood near the massive glass windows, the city lights behind her painting her silhouette in gold and blue. She was dressed elegantly as always, tailored black dress, diamond bracelet catching the light, but her eyes were bare. No boardroom armor. No billionaire confidence. Just loneliness. "I didn't know," Ethan said carefully. "You didn't mention it." She gave a hollow smile. "People don't usually ask." Ethan exhaled. He had come here for one reason only, the job interview. A live-in estate manager position that paid more in a month than he'd ever earned in a year. It was supposed to be simple. Professional. Temporary. Get the job, secure his daughter's future, and keep his distance from the famously cold billionaire CEO. But nothing about Lena Blackwood was simple. "I should go," he said, even though his feet hadn't moved. "My daughter's waiting for me." That word, daughter, always changed the air between them. Lena nodded, looking away toward the city. "Of course. She's lucky to have you." Ethan didn't respond. He was used to that reaction. People always said it like it was a compliment wrapped around a tragedy. Single dad. Widower. 35 years old with permanent exhaustion in his eyes. He'd learned to accept the silence that followed. "I just thought," Lena said quietly, "maybe for once, someone would stay." The honesty in her voice hit him harder than any dramatic plea could have. Ethan thought of Emma at home, doing homework at the kitchen table, probably glancing at the clock every few minutes the way she always did. He thought of the bills stacked neatly beside the microwave. He thought of the way Lena had looked at him all evening, not like an employee, not like a charity case, but like a human being who mattered. He loosened his grip on the door. 10 minutes, he said. "That's all I can stay." Lena's head snapped up. For a split second, the billionaire disappeared entirely, replaced by a woman trying not to hope too much. "Thank you," she said. "That's more than enough." She poured him a glass of sparkling water. He'd refused champagne earlier, and handed it to him with hands that trembled just slightly. The penthouse was enormous, immaculate, and painfully quiet. No birthday decorations. No cake. No cards. "You don't celebrate?" Ethan asked. She shrugged. "Celebrations are for people who are remembered." He frowned. "That's not true, isn't it?" She asked softly. "I have employees, investors, people who want something from me. But at midnight tonight, when this day ends, not a single person will have sung to me. Not a single gift will be given without an invoice attached." Ethan took a slow sip of water, choosing his words carefully. "My daughter once asked me why rich people look sad in movies." Lena arched an eyebrow. "And what did you tell her?" "That being surrounded by people doesn't mean you're not alone." Something in Lena's expression cracked. "My husband used to say something similar," she said. Ethan hadn't known she'd been married. The media never mentioned it. "Used to. He died," she said simply. 8 years ago. Plane crash. I was 32. Overnight, I inherited everything. Including the loneliness." "I'm sorry," Ethan said. She nodded, accepting it without drama. "I hear that a lot." Silence settled between them again, but it was different now. Softer. Less sharp. Ethan glanced at his watch. 8 minutes left. "You know," he said, Emma would have made you a cake. Lena smiled faintly. I'm sure it would have been terrible. It would have been amazing, he corrected. She puts too much sugar in everything. For the first time that night, Lena laughed. Not the polite corporate laugh she used with executives, but a real one that surprised even her. I'd like to meet her someday, she said. Ethan hesitated. She doesn't meet many people. I wouldn't want to be just anyone, Lena said. I'd want to earn it. Something shifted in him then. A realization he hadn't allowed himself to consider. This job wasn't just about money. It was about proximity. About trust. About bringing his carefully protected world closer to someone who could change everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Did you get the job, Dad? He typed back quickly. Not yet. I'll be home soon. He looked up at Lena. I should really go. She nodded, disappointment flickering but not controlling her. Of course. Thank you for staying, even for 10 minutes. He walked to the door again, slower this time. Before opening it, he turned back. Happy birthday, Lena. Her eyes widened slightly. No one had said it yet. Thank you, she whispered. He left, but the quiet that followed felt different now. Less empty. That night, Lena sat alone at her dining table long after midnight, staring at the city. She replayed his voice in her head. The way he spoke about his daughter. The way he looked at her like she wasn't untouchable. For the first time in years, she didn't hate her birthday. The next morning, Ethan got the call. He was making Emma's lunch when his phone rang. Mr. Carter, Lena's assistant said briskly, Ms. Blackwood would like to offer you the position. Full benefits, flexible hours, and one additional request. Ethan stiffened. What request? She wants you to bring your daughter with you when appropriate. She believes family matters. Emma watched him from the table, eyes wide. Dad, is it good news? Ethan smiled slowly. Yeah, kiddo. It's very good news. Life changed quietly after that. No dramatic headlines. No scandals. Just small moments. Lena watching Emma bake cupcakes in the penthouse kitchen. Ethan fixing a broken lamp while Lena sat on the floor helping Emma with math homework. Dinners that lasted longer than they should have because no one wanted to be the first to leave the table. Lena learned what it felt like to come home to noise. Ethan learned what it felt like not to carry the weight alone. One evening, months later, as they stood on the balcony watching the sun set, Emma tugged on Lena's sleeve. Do you know what tomorrow is? Emma asked. Lena smiled. Thursday. Emma giggled. No, it's your birthday. Lena froze. She looked at Ethan, who smiled back, gentle and sure. We didn't forget, he said. Emma ran inside and returned with a lopsided cake, frosting sliding off the sides. I made it myself. With extra sugar. Lena's eyes filled with tears as she knelt down. It's perfect, she said, her voice breaking. That night, as candles flickered and a child's off-key singing filled the penthouse, Lena realized something profound. She had everything once, and still been alone. Now, she had almost nothing that money could measure. And she had never been richer.